We're going to go back to the roots of real estate, but we're going to go back to the roots of giving in life. That's the most important thing. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Money School podcast, where we talk about, that's it, money, but not just money. We talk about taking back control of your money by you becoming your bank. Today, we're going to spin it up a little bit, and we're going to go back to the roots of real estate, but we're going to go back to the roots of giving. My guest has the ultimate story in giving, and I think in life, that's the most important thing we need to learn is how to give first. So let's just dive right in. Aleea, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So you're originally from Buffalo, correct?
I am, born and raised.
Born and raised.
Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
But you live in New York City now.
I live in New York City. I do.
Do tell. What brought you from Buffalo to New York City?
Yeah, I remember I was in high school and I took AP classes my senior year. I was kind of like a goofball freshman through junior. Senior year, I got it together. My AP English teacher came over and she was like, Aleea, well, what are you going to do with your life? You need to apply to college. I was like, okay. At that point, I wanted to be like in the FBI. I thought that was cool. I looked at the movies. I wanted to do that. So I went to school for criminal justice. I went to Hilbert in Hamburg, stayed here, just traveled back and forth, commuted from my parents' house to college. And then I had a professor that was like, okay, well, Aleea, like you're about to graduate college. What are you going to do next? I was like, well, I really like money. And like no one else in my family had been to college at that point. And so I remember I just Googled top 10 paying careers and I landed on law. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to law school. Like,
so wait, FBI didn't come up as top paying?
It did not come up because I realized, no, not at all. And I realized it was so bureaucratic. And I was like, I think at the time the salaries were like $70,000 or $80,000. And I was like, that's not enough for the life that I want to live, especially to like look after my entire family who did not go to college. So I went to law school. I took the LSATs. I applied to 2 law schools. I got in and I moved to DC. I went to Howard Law.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That's impressive, huh? All right. So how many years of college did you have to go through to get your law degree?
I did 4 undergrad and then 3 for law school. So 7.
7 years.
It was a lot.
So while that 7 years was going on, what were you doing? Like, were you just partying in school? Were you doing a little bit of partying, a little bit of working? Or were you just like head down, get this done?
I was not head down, get this point.
Good, because that would be no fun.
No, that's no fun. I'm like a big believer in work hard, play hard. So like I did work really, really hard in college. In fact, in undergrad, I graduated in 3 years instead of 4 years. And so that 4th year, I went to Montreal and Toronto. And I just like traveled and I partied and I had a blast. I was into a little bit of like modeling back then too. So I did a few music videos, like a Drake and Nicki Minaj.
You did a Drake music video?
5 a.m. in Toronto.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So like, and that was really good money because like I was getting paid like $600 to do a music video. And I was like, okay,
yeah, like you probably would have done it for free.
Yeah, I just actually, like I love Drake. So I did that and I had a blast. And then that's when I went to law school after and I buckled down because you have to buckle down in law school to get like a big firm job after. That's the goal where you make money. It's not being a public defender, unfortunately. So I buckled down, but I still had fun. And yeah, that was life.
So now you're an attorney, but I listened to another podcast you were on and you told a story of your kind of upbringing and something your grandparents did. And I'd be remiss not to tell this awesome audience about that because to me, it really touched my heart. So can you tell me the story about your grandparents?
Yeah. So when my mom had me, she was 15. And so her dad, my grandpa, was like, okay, you go back to school, you finish like living your life. You're a child. You can't raise a child. I will take Aleea. And so my grandparents adopted me officially at the age of 2. I moved to Buffalo. They raised me. I had a great life in Lancaster, of course. My parents, because they are my parents, they were around like 60, like when I was in middle school and high school. Whereas like my peers, their parents were like in their 40s, early 40s. And so time is really important to me. And I guess we'll get there as far as like why I'm like pivoting from law to real estate. But I started to realize just like they move a little bit slower. They started having difficulty like getting upstairs and stuff like that. And I remember my grandpa, he retired, he fell behind on some bills, and we lost our house that I grew up in, my childhood home at 19. Yeah, like it was the type of home where like every birthday, every year, they would put a line as far as like how tall I got. And there was this one wall that showed each year like how tall I got. And that was the first time I ever moved in my life. And so I remember coming back from Hilbert College then, and everything was packed up. They didn't even tell me. And we moved from Lancaster to the east side of Buffalo, Cold Springs. And boy, was that a wake-up call. Like that was that really hit me hard. And I was like, never again do I want to have housing insecurity, to have my whole world just like swept from underneath me. And so that was like really my drive and my motivation I need to make money, not because I love money and I value money, but because what money allows me to do. And it gives me security and my family security. And so my first real estate purchase was during COVID when I got my grandparents a house. I moved them out of Cold Springs.
This is your very first deal you did?
That was my very first.
Is this the one that we were talking about with the realtor as well?
No, that's not that. That was a flip.
First flip, okay. But this is the first real estate
deal.
This
was my first real estate deal. It was an off-market deal. My grandpa had a friend who was looking to downsize. He was an older gentleman too. Was like, hey, you just pay off the rest of my mortgage. You guys can have my home. And so there were no agents involved. Yeah, there were no agents involved, no inspections, nothing like that. It was a really nice home. And, I worked myself up. I took out the hugest withdrawal from my bank account that I had ever done for this down payment. And I got them a house during COVID, 3% interest.
Wow. So you took a mortgage out for your grandparents to have a house. That's awesome.
I did. And that house, because...
Did you keep it a secret from them and then like surprise them? Or
no, I told them. I had to tell them, you don't really throw too many surprises at 70-year-old people, right? Like I had to like ease them into it. Because of their mobility issues though, the one bathroom in the house was a tub, and it was a very like huge tub. And so I went and I found a contractor and I was like, okay, I want to demo this tub and I want to give them a walk-in shower. So we did that. And that was my first experience with like construction rehab. Once I gave them a beautiful walk-in shower, I was like, and this is before we moved into the house, I was like, well, my grandma, she loves to cook. She loves being in the kitchen. Let's give her an updated kitchen. And so we blew out a wall, we put in a beam, we gave her new cabinets.
You were funding all this.
I was funding all of this. Yeah. We gave her new cabinets, new countertops. She had a beautiful kitchen and we moved in. And so that was my first experience working, finding a contractor, and just in the real estate process. That was my introduction. And I was like, this isn't hard. This is actually kind of fun.
But that's just like, think about that. Like, she watched her grandparents lose the house she grew up in. And that seared in her mind that I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna make sure that in my future, I have the ability to give them a home. And that's exactly what you did.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was a fuel to my fire. I always say, like, everyone has fuel to their fire. Like, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed? And that was mine. And it's still mine to this day.
So let's keep going. So after that, like, that's a huge victory.
Yeah.
That was your first real estate. And how old were you when you did that?
So this is during COVID. So I think I was...
Years ago.
5 years ago. So I'm 32 now. So yeah.
How old are your grandparents now?
83.
83.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the math in my head. I started as a dad late. I'm not going to be too far distant. I'm going to be that old dad. Anyway, let's get past that. All right. So you're an attorney. Let's talk a little bit about like that. You live in New York City.
I live in New York City.
A city that never sleeps.
Never sleep.
And what kind of law do you do?
Yeah. So I do white collar defense, internal investigation.
So you work with like investment banks.
Investment banks, hedge funds, stuff like that. Yeah. It's very cool stuff.
That is cool stuff.
Yeah. Like we represent people accused of insider trading, or we represent companies who want us to come in and conduct an internal investigation to make sure their employees haven't done any wrongdoing. It's very fun.
Maybe pretty soon you'll have to represent Nancy Pelosi because she is the greatest stock trader of all time. Insider trading. I'm just kidding. Probably shouldn't put that in here or whatever.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. And interestingly, it kind of ties into like my criminal justice background too. Like there's you have to solve like a mystery and you're putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So everything kind of like worked out in a weird way.
And you love it?
No.
Okay. What don't you love about it? Because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching this are like, oh my God, she's a high-powered attorney, like making a ton of money. Like that's people's dreams. Like go through 7-8 years of school, become the attorney, and they just think everything's perfect. What is not perfect?
Well, from the inception, it was always a means to an end. It wasn't my passion. It was me looking up top 10 paying careers. What can I do to give my family some type of like chance in this, race for the American dream? And so it wasn't my passion, and it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of time commitment. Sometimes we're working 60, 65-hour weeks, and that's a lot.
Unbelievable.
Like no like shade to any of my peers in the office, but like I don't like them that much to be spending more time with them over my family. And also because I'm raised by my grandparents, time is very important to me. I know I don't have a ton of years with them. And so I'm like, something has to shake here. something absolutely has to shake. I need to make money outside of my W-2, hopefully, and, work really, really hard, be fortunate enough to build that up so that I can fully leave my W-2 and I can be where I want, when I want, with the people that I love while still making some money.
So where did that land you?
I'm on my way there. I am very much on my way. And
real estate is the path, correct?
Real estate is the path. It's absolutely the path. And again, I'm not the smartest person in the room.
Well, you made it through law school.
I made it through law school, yes. But that's, a lot of strategy, getting the right study groups and stuff like that. But I'm not the smartest person in the room, of course, but I do work hard and I do care about people. And I do put my all into what I do. So after I got my grandparents a house, I liked designing. I started watching every single episode of Flip or Flop on HGTV. And I was like, this is not rocket science. No, that's where I started. Then they break down all the numbers. They show you the whole process. And I was like, you know what? I can do this because as attorneys, we delegate. And now I'm very senior, so I delegate a lot. I don't take the first drafts of anything these days, which I really like. I was like, okay, I need an agent to go find me the deals. Then I need to find a contractor. And then...
Hold on. You need to find a contractor that just works without you having to babysit them?
Ideally, right?
Have you found one? Because I need them.
I've worked with the same contractor in every single one of my flips.
Like right up from when your grandparents' house?
No. So right. So that was a big learning curve. The first contractor I hired for my grandparents' house, again, because it was a lot of money and I had never made that type of investment, I set up shop at that house when they were doing the rehab. Like I literally set up shop. I got a bucket, flipped it upside down, and I brought my laptop because I'm an attorney. I sat in that bucket as they're doing their construction. And I just sat and I did my work and I would look up and I would watch them. And I was there at like 8:30 a.m. because I wanted to make sure they showed up on time, a reasonable time, and that they left at a reasonable time. That was a lot of money. Like I need to make sure they're doing the work. So, and I had to build some type of like trust. And I had to also like learn what this is all about. So I set up shop at the house when they were doing construction.
Smart.
Thank you.
And we could all duplicate ourselves to set up a bucket and just watch the contractor.
I know, right?
Well, you probably learned a ton.
I learned a ton. I also, I was impressed because that was the first person I was working with and I was impressed by their work. But now that I've done several projects, I look back and I walk around my grandparents' house and I'm like, okay, this could have been done better. This could have been done better. Or like, this was a shortcut. So first time I didn't hit it on the nail. Second time I found a contractor and I worked with him for all of my projects. And like, we know each other now where like, he's able to go out and get materials that he knows that I want that we use for all of my projects. And it's been a passive means of income for me so far. I know that's like hard for a lot of people to hear, but maybe I'll put in like 2 hours of work a week and that's it.
Well, that's good. I think the big takeaway for the audience here is early on, you develop processes, procedures for how to do this. And sitting there, fortunately or unfortunately, during your grandparents, you got to see how it was done. Then you got to see the shortcuts they took. So in doing that, working with the same contractor, you've developed these processes, same materials in each house. It just makes it a lot easier. We had to do that. I mean, when we were doing 25 houses a month, that's the only way we were able to do it. We had the same, blueprint, if you will, for every single house.
Yeah.
Certain things varied, but everything was for the most part the same. So the contractor could just go out and get bulk of one type of tile for the bathrooms, and we used it across the board.
Absolutely. And it wasn't perfect working with this contractor at first. There were mistakes made, but he was a good person. I'm a good person. And I feel like you need to give people chances. And you also you're not going to find like your ideal 10 out of 10 like partner in anything. And so I was like, okay, well, we can work together and we can improve as long as that person has a willingness to listen and to improve. And we both did, because there were a lot of things I needed to learn too. There were a lot of times when he would tell me, Aleea, like you're picking out 5 different tiles for all these different projects. We need to have consistency here, right? So it worked out.
So I want to pivot this a little bit. Well, first off, how many flips have you done up to date?
9.
9. And are you working on one right now?
So I'm working on a burr right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did 9 flips. How many rentals do you have in the portfolio, or do you want in the portfolio?
So I have 3. One is a 4-unit.
Okay.
I have one that I use. That's a long-term rental. I have a midterm rental, and the burr is going to be another midterm rental.
Why did you decide to go with a burr versus a flip? I think that's a big thing. A lot of people, because I used to have to do burr. We did a lot of burrs. We got up to 91 doors, but a lot of the burrs in the early days were because we got into a house, we went over budget, and we're like, oh crap, we're not going to make money flipping this. And we would immediately flip it over and say, all right, we're going to rent this out. It was kind of like a last ditch effort, but yours sounds more intentional, like you bought it to burr it.
Yeah, it was intentional, but it was also the price point that I got it wasn't at a significant discount where I could make money flipping it. Plus, I'm still working on W-2 and I'm getting killed with taxes. And so I need to build a rental portfolio. I need to hang on to some of these properties just to help with, offset some of those taxes.
Yeah, you got to get those cost segs going.
Absolutely.
Have you done cost segs on any?
I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one for the first time this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you need a good person to do cost segregation studies, I've got the best guy.
So perfect.
Yeah. I'll give you his number after. He's phenomenal.
Great.
Because there's some bad apples out there in the cost seg world, and you don't ever want to go through an audit with a bad person, like a person doing a cost seg.
Yeah.
That does it wrong and cuts corners, kind of like contractor cutting corners.
Right.
So anyway, but I'm glad you're doing that. Plus the depreciation, you can bonus that all up front. That'll help you a lot.
Exactly. And I want to build my rental portfolio because in my mind now, after I'm doing continuing education, I always do. I put on podcasts when I can, when I'm at the gym. And my rentals in my mind that's my retirement plan. Like I just don't want to rely on my 401k. My rentals will be my retirement plan. And because I have such a strong W-2, the profit that I'm getting from my flips, I don't necessarily need, and I don't want to keep that in some high yield savings account. So I'm paying off my current rental properties. And the goal is to own them eventually free and clear. And have that be my retirement plan.
I might have a better way you can do that exact strategy, but that's for another time. But let's talk right now that you got a huge advantage over a lot of other real estate investors. And that is the fact that you have a very good W-2 job, which makes you very appealing to a bank. Most real estate investors, they leave their job, they burn the boats, they go right into real estate, and then they're just 1099 or, just going off of their P&L, if they even know what a P&L is. They take a deal to a bank and the bank's like, no way, we're not going to do this because you don't have W-2 income. So you've got a big advantage there, and I would ride that out as long as you can and bulk up that rental portfolio while you've got the W-2. But you mentioned retirement, which is a unique thing. Define retirement for me.
Retirement for me is having enough money, making enough money, not working passively, maybe work when I want to, but not because I have to, and being where I want to be with the people I want to be with. That's retirement for me. I'll always be doing something. I'm a busybody by nature. I've worked really, really hard. I've developed such a skill set where it's like I need to be doing something, analyzing something. But I just want to do it on my own terms, and I want to make money.
Audience, I hope you really listened to that. Like it was that was not planned. I didn't plan that before to ask her what retirement was. But so many people think retirement is an aid because we've been conditioned to think, okay, I'm going to work. I'm going to put money in a 401k. I'm going to max it out so that when I'm 60 or 65, I can stop working and I can be retired. But you defined it. Retirement is not an aid. Retirement is the point where your money can work for you to a velocity where it can support your lifestyle. And then you can do the things you want, have the freedom of time. The problem is you said 401k, which that right all in of itself, if you rely on a 401k for retirement, you're 59 and a half.
Exactly.
You can touch that money without penalties. So I love the fact that you're doing this rental to provide that income so you can just say, 401k is great because you get tax deductions, and I'm sure you need those.
Yeah.
But that's not your sole thing. So many people out there, folks, I hopefully not talking to you, you rely on a 401k as your sole means of retirement. That is never going to get it done. In rare occasions it will, but still then you're a slave. I hate to use that word, but to the markets and to everything that you can't control. Aleea is doing it the right way. She's got a defined plan. She's building up rentals. Retirement isn't an age to her. It's just a point where she can just live the life she wants and have the time freedom. And time is the most valuable resource we all have. So I didn't mean to kind of segue, but that was just really good.
Thank you. No, you're absolutely right. I want to climb the Great Wall of China now, not when I'm 55. Right. My knees don't hurt now. So I don't want to wait that long. Not at all. We only have one life to live, and none of us are going to make it out of your life.
Now, all your rentals and all your real estate are here in Buffalo, right? But yet you live in New York City.
Yes.
Have you ever thought of the kind of bringing your real estate stuff closer to the city where you live? Or are you thinking this is going to be home someday?
It's an interesting question. I've been dabbling and getting into the New York City real estate market. I will say that I'm comfortable operating out of state in a market like Buffalo because I know it. I know the streets, I know the neighborhoods. I lived here, I've grown up here. I don't know New York City yet. Like I've only been there for 3 years and New York City is big. Like even the different boroughs and what side of the borough you're on, it's just a completely different world. So I'm not comfortable yet working in New York City, maybe one day, but also I could be a potentially bigger fish in a smaller pond in a way and still achieve my goals just investing in Buffalo. And I'm okay with that. So we'll see. If I make the right connections in New York City, it could happen. So I'm not, crossing it off the list.
Well, it's pretty crazy. I mean, my days of flipping, our last flip we did was like 2019. We have a couple here and there, but like it's a very different market here. And I mean, if you read the tabloids, I mean, Buffalo is what, number 2 behind Rochester, which I don't get, but.
Me neither.
Yeah. And nobody watching, isn't here doesn't understand that, but we understand. Yeah, I think Rochester anyway, but Buffalo is definitely a really good, real estate market, or at least so says the tabloids. Like, have you seen that to be true?
Absolutely. Like it's one of those markets that you can still buy a house for like $100K, put in 40, 50K and sell it, for 30, 240, et cetera. So the barrier to entry, I think, is a lot lower, which also makes it very competitive because more people can afford to be a real estate investor in Buffalo compared to New York City. But the demand has also been great. Like, and also I feel like Buffalo is one of those forgotten cities, kind of like Detroit. Like when the automobile industry left and went overseas, a lot of the money left Buffalo as well. We have a lot of abandoned properties. We have a lot of neglected properties. People in Buffalo also deserve HGTV style designs too. The stuff that's trending, you don't have a lot of that. And so what I realized is that I can buy affordable material and use them in a way that's super attractive, super appealing. And all of my properties have gotten multiple offers over asking, except for one. That was a hard lesson learned. But it's when you really just focus on design, you give people what they want, which a lot of people here in Buffalo, a lot of their houses are outdated.
Absolutely.
So I'm giving that to people and it's worked out.
Your real estate business lives and dies by the network and the connections that you make. I mean, after all, your network, well, it's your net worth. That's what you always heard, right? If that's an area where you desire improvement, well, Private Money Club, it's for you. PMC saves you precious time and money by bringing the real estate world, well, right to you, right in the palm of your hand. So get in on the action like so many others have by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
So when you said they're going over ask, like what's your average flip profit?
It was 40K per flip, but my last 2 flips in total have made me 300K. So that
just on those 2?
2. Yes.
Crap.
Yes.
Wow.
Insane.
Those 2 did you buy those 2 on the MLS? And this is, when I listened to your other podcast, that's one of the things I found fascinating is that most of the deals you've gotten from the MLS.
I have.
What was my mind? Like back when we were doing it, that was like, no, I don't do that. You find off-market deals, but and as competitive as it is now, maybe the eyes have gone off of MLS and gone to off-market. So now maybe that's the secret.
There are deals on the MLS. You just have to be scouring it, looking at it every day.
Obviously there is. You made 300,000 on the last 2 flips.
Yeah. So my second to last flip was it was on the market. It went under contract, fell out of contract, and so it was listed as being on the market for I think like.
Why did it fall out of contract?
40 days. The purchaser at the time just realized it was too big of a project and they just backed off. They wanted to live in it and do.
You haven't met the home inspectors that sabotage the deals?
Not yet. Oh my God. Those exist?
Early. Keep going.
So the day it went back on market, because I scroll, sometimes I even start on like, when you have listings, you have the page numbers at the bottom. I will start on like Zillow page 4 or 5 to get those older listings. And I saw it pop up. And then I just quickly ran some comps. And I was like, there's opportunity here. And so I did it. I called up that agent and I was like, hey, like what's going on with this house? He told me the story. I was like, all right, well, would you be willing to accept X? And I got it for 75K under what it was listed for at the time. And I made 200K on that flip.
So that's a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and all 274 that we did, I think the most we ever made was slightly over 100,000 on one. Like, so that's awesome. Congrats on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you make that much. Yes, you've got tax issues because you got taxes with W-2, but the good thing is you can put, the taxes away with W-2, but now you're making all this money on these flips. So yeah, Uncle Sam's going to be loving you, or already is loving you if that flip was in 2024.
No, I haven't. I've delayed filing my taxes because I'm really assessing getting a new CPA, just like really getting my ducks in order here. So
Yeah, you need some tax planning.
I do.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's tough to find a good CPA that does tax planning. And just so you know, a little piece of advice, and I'll give this to the audience. If you're looking for a CPA that's going to do tax planning, it's typically going to be on a retainer basis. So you're just kind of like how you would charge. They're going to charge you a retainer. You pay them monthly or quarterly. That's how I've found the good CPA.
Yep.
But if you just go to a CPA that's going to do your taxes and you're like, hey, I need tax planning, they're just not going to get it. Like, it's just like you got to pay to play.
Yeah, and, absolutely.
That'll come back huge for you. Because I mean, if you're just getting into this, you got heavy W-2, you got all these profits, and you're just getting into cost segs. I mean, you got to look at. There's a lot of other things that I think you need to be looking deep in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm getting a short-term rental too, so I can qualify as, I think it's the real estate professional.
Yep.
Don't claim me, but
now you got more write-offs.
Exactly. I have to, because it's just I'm giving money away at this point.
So you're just going to keep going with the real estate stuff. Is that the plan? Are you going to continue flipping? Or are you going to do more rentals? Like, what is your strategy for real estate?
It's so competitive here in Buffalo that at this point, I am very open. If I see a flip that can make me money, I don't want to lose money. I'm not in a business of losing money.
Can you see that? That's the thing. How can you see a flip that's going to make you money when you're in New York City and you're looking in Buffalo? That's, I think, the big thing I'd be asking if I was in the audience watching this.
Delegation. So I have now a team of agents that I work with that are extremely thorough, very, very thorough. And that's very important to me. And so they are my first eyes on these properties. I will send them to do the walkthroughs. They'll send me videos, they'll send me pictures, they'll give me their whole analysis. And I trust them. It's a leap of faith, yes, but they've shown up time and time again, and they're very trustworthy. And the research side, the running comps, I can do that from anywhere.
Sure. Great. And you got a contractor that you built a relationship with. So you got that trust, which is, gosh, I have so many open lawsuits to contractors that screwed me. I'm so happy that you found the right contractor early on, because we certainly found all the wrong ones.
Oh my God.
Geez. That was the biggest struggle we had.
Really? Yeah.
And then that led to issues with home inspectors, issues with building inspectors. And, it's a chain reaction. But like, if you got a good contractor that knows that is licensed and pulling permits and everything, that's the best thing. And I would say if any of you are looking to get into, real estate world, find somebody that's good, that's legitimate, never shop for the cheapest price. Make sure they're licensed, insured, and make sure they're pulling permits and closing out the permits. That's one thing that I learned is they'd open the permit, they'd finish the job, get their final check, and never close the permit out. And then when the permit got closed, there'd be all sorts of issues, and it was almost impossible getting the contractor back on the job to fix what they didn't do right in permits.
That's horrible. I definitely think that once I start to scale and I'm doing more volume, that I'll run into some similar issues.
Like, what's your goal? How many rentals do you want? Like, what's your ultimate goal you want to get to?
My freedom number is...
What's your number?
So, right, I got to start there.
Just get right at that shit. What's your number?
My freedom number, I want to replace my W-2 because right now I'm living a great life. Been fortunate enough to. My freedom number would be $20K a month.
Okay.
So I want to get there.
So how many, have you ever reverse engineered that? So $20K a month, that's your freedom number. Now we need to reverse engineer that. How many rentals would you need, or how many properties would you need to have in your portfolio to do that?
I have to do that work. So I identified my freedom number.
You got your freedom number.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now we need to reverse engineer that and say, okay, on conservative basis, because how you want to run it is like, if rents are here today, you want to provide some softening in that, because I think we're going to see softening in rental numbers, even here in Buffalo. So you want to kind of discount that 10, 15%, and then just figure out, okay, you have a couple rentals. So you kind of have a baseline of what they're performing at and how much you're making. Just do the math reverse. So let me make this easy for you. So we're going to start with your goal, $20,000 a month. That's your freedom number. That's your goal. So we're going to reverse engineer that to figure out like how many rentals do you actually need to hit that. So the first question I'd ask you is, out of the rentals you currently have, like on a net basis, I don't know if you know this, but on a net basis, how much do they each make roughly?
So I would say around $500 to $600.
$500-600. All right. So we would take the $20,000 a month, divide that by, let's say 600. That would be, math serves me correct, about 33 to 34 doors, or 33 to 34 rentals you need, producing $600 a month to provide that $20,000 a month. However, and this is important, folks, this is mistakes I made. Nothing's perfect in real estate. As soon as you get to your goal, something big's going to happen. I mean, water line's going to, have a problem. A roof's going to need to be repaired. So you need to first build up an emergency fund. And I would say no less in today's world than $20,000. So you take that $500 or $600 a month you're making, pool that over and create a reserve account. Now, once that reserve account's got 20 or 25 grand, then you start chipping away and then that starts working toward it. Until that 20 grand is there, you can't freedom fund this. You can't ride off into the sunset. Even if you're making 25,000 a month, you're like, I'm at my goal, because you're one break, one mistake, one thing going wrong away from not being able to do that number. So I think that's a big mistake. A lot of people, they hit their number, but then they don't have reserves, and then they pull the plug on their W-2, and then they're living off this rental, and then something bad happens, and now that 20,000 becomes 5,000 a month for 3 months, because now you got to put a roof on and a main water line breaks. And listen, economies of scale, when you got 33 or 34 doors, more things are going to go wrong than when you have a couple, right?
Yeah.
So as you get the economies of scale, you want to make sure you got that reserve set aside.
Wow. 33, that sounds completely doable.
Seriously?
I have that over. I'm like, wow.
Yep. Don't forget that reserve account. You got to have that reserve account so that, when you do pull the plug and you got that freedom money, now you've got that reserve to take care of things that go wrong. And always, here's how I do it. Every quarter, like I run a P&L, and every quarter I will take a certain percentage of that profit and I will move it up into a reserve account. We call it a war chest. And that war chest just keeps building and building and building. And listen, like maybe nothing goes wrong that I need that money for, but it's my safety money. It's my sleep good at night money. And down the line, like as that keeps building, it might be my acquisition money. I mean, I might buy another firm out, or I start a new company. Like now that could be seed funded with that. But the original purpose of it was reserve fund.
Yeah.
Something bad happens. This is my sleep good at night money. Always make sure you have that before you pull any plugs.
Well, I have a plan. I feel like I can execute on this. I see it now. Where I'm at right now is that I'm trying to scale. I actually dabbled in the off-market stuff, but I just feel like it's so saturated here in Buffalo. Like there are a lot of big players here that just spend thousands and thousands of dollars like per week on marketing. I'm just like, geez, like how could I compete with that? So I'm trying to figure out, how can I scale? How can I get consistent flips?
The answer, you already said the answer. So how can you compete with the big guys that are spending all this money? They're so busy spending all this money, doing all these things, that they're not looking where you are.
Right.
They're not doing the things that have got you where you're at. So what's got you where you are is probably going to get you at least a little further in the future. Then you'll have to modify and change things. But if it's working what you're doing now, just keep doing that until it doesn't work anymore. Don't try to reinvent the wheel and do what they're doing, because that's where it's noisy. Like blue sea, red sea kind of thing. Go. That's what you need. You need to just go where nobody else is going. And if it's working for you now, it will continue to work until it doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I'm not afraid of buying the higher end homes and flipping higher end homes. Like my flip where I made $200K, we sold that for $990. And so a lot of people were like, no, Leah, like don't get into this flip. Like, I mean, how many millionaires are there in Buffalo? Like, come on, who can afford this? And I was like, let me just do it.
I live right over here in Spalding Lake, and I will tell you, when houses go on the market, and these are $1.2, $1.6 million houses, they're gone in a week. I can't even believe it, but clearly that's the path. Like, so nobody's going there because they're nervous about the risk. You've got the W-2 income to support the carry costs, but most real estate investors do not. Most real estate investors can't carry that size of a house. So, while that's good, go for it. But just be careful not to get into a big project,
right?
Like a big, one of those big houses that requires tons of work. Get the ones that are just like paying.
Yeah, cosmetic.
When you get a bigger house, it's tough because like you got 6 bathrooms. So, your costs are just through the roof. So, but if you did well with that one, try to find more of those. There's people are not looking.
Yes, that's right. And I'm giving nice designs too. So yeah, it's been working. I'll just stick to that.
I love it. Let's go back to the law. Okay. Yeah. So you're doing that. You've been doing it 3 years in New York City. Ideally, and I don't even know if we should probably say this, how many more years would you like to continue doing that?
So I've been practicing law for 8 years. My first 4 or 5 were in DC, and then I switched law firms and worked in New York City. I want this to be my last year. Oh. I mean, I don't know when this is going to be aired, so hopefully none of my coworkers.
So we got 6 months to go.
Yeah, but I want this, well, at least at my law firm, maybe I can transition into being an in-house lawyer for a big company. I love AI. I think AI is the new oil, right? And I want to get on that ship right now. And my dream job right now would be being an in-house lawyer for OpenAI, but I don't want to move to Cali. So maybe once they set up their legal shop in New York City, I would do it. But that's that's where I see myself because the hours are less. Like I won't be working 60 hours a week. It'll be a regular, actual, true 9 to 5, maybe 8 to 3. And I'll be able to scale my real estate stuff some more. And then once I build up my portfolio, my rentals, and I'm getting closer and closer to that freedom number, then that's when I would leave my W-2 altogether.
Love it. Love it. Now, living in New York City, and this is kind of one of the final things I want to wrap with, very expensive to live there. And it can be very expensive because you can spend a ton of money trying, just going out and having fun. I mean, so how do you manage that? Like, it's the city that never sleeps, and the city that never sleeps can suck you dry financially, even if you make a lot. So how are you balancing that with your goal of $20,000 a month is what I need? Because, you make $300,000 on flips, you could easily blow that in New York City like that. How are you doing that?
So I work hard, but I play very hard. I like going out. I like fine dining. I like, going to brunch and all that. So the money that I'm making in real estate, I've reinvested in real estate. I don't
100%
money, 100%. I don't touch that money. My play money is from my W-2. My play money is from my W-2. The other W-2 money is to like my retirement, my long-term savings, stuff like that, or to also reinvest into my real estate.
That's a good way to do it. So you're just taking all the real estate money, reinvesting it. Now, let me ask you this, and this is going to be a hard question that you may have thought about, but you may not. If you were to back off the fine dining and the living the life and just kind of taking 1 year to double down on your goals, how much faster would you hit that goal? I know it would suck. You wouldn't enjoy it, and time's important, and so is having fun. What if you just gave up 1 year, get incredibly focused on that $20,000 a month and making it happen? And you put more of that time, and not just time, money from your W-2 into making that happen. How much faster would you hit your goal?
Much faster. Definitely much faster. And I think there's a cost benefit analysis to that. I mean, again, like, and maybe I'm a little bit fear driven, and I don't mind that. I feel like everyone should, if you have a healthy amount of anxiety, it's good. But I just don't know what tomorrow holds. And like with everything going on in the world, my grandparents are 83, like their mobility is like declining. Like I want to be able to spend time, take them on trips, do things now, So like I'm okay with a slower build, and being able to still like live life and create those experiences. I'm not a shopper. I'm not materialistic. I don't have 20, 30, 40 shoes. I probably have, honestly, like 5 shoes in my closet, right? So like I spend my money on travel, on experiences, on family. Like I want to take my grandpa. He's a fisherman. He doesn't go out by himself anymore because he can't like get on and off the boat. But I just like want to rent like a boat for him. And we just go on a nice fishing trip. So that is where I spend my money. And I'm okay with a slower, path to my freedom number as long as I'm making progress. And I am going to speed it up. And that's why I have my plan to leave my firm job and to go in-house so that I have more time. So I'll do it.
I love that. Well, so now with these rehabs you're doing, like how are you funding the rehab?
Started off using all of my own cash. Eventually, as I got more experience, I took out a HELOC on my grandparents' residence, the first house. Thank you. And so I have like $100K of revolving credit that I now use to do my rehabs.
That's fantastic. I find it funny. What you're doing with HELOCs, most people understand it, all right? You got equity sitting in a house, your grandparents' house. That money's doing nothing. You go to a bank, you get a home equity line at access. Now you got access to the equity in that house, 80, 90% of it or whatever you got. And you're using that to go on rehab. So the infinite banking concepts that we brought up earlier, a lot of people are confused by this. It's the same exact thing as what you're doing, with the exception of the equity that's in the house is the equity that's built into a specially designed and engineered whole life policy, meaning the cash value. Then we're just going to leverage that cash value. We're going to take loans from the insurance company, which is the insurance company giving us money from their general account. Kind of think of it like a home equity line. The bank's giving you your equity in your house. Well, the insurance company is letting you borrow the equity in your policy up to the amount of your cash value. So a bank will never allow you to use more equity than you have in the house,
right?
Or a percentage of that, right? Insurance companies are saying, so you can borrow your death benefit up to the amount of cash value. Let's say you got a $500,000 death benefit on a policy that has $100,000 in cash value. The insurance company will let you use $100,000 of your death benefit up to the cash value because the cash value is collateral. A bank allows you to use the equity up to the amount of the equity or a percentage of that. Same exact thing. The difference is when you're using actually it's not different, but when you're using the equity on the house, it doesn't inhibit the house's value from going up, right? So your grandparents' house is still appreciating in value.
Absolutely.
Though you're using the equity. In a policy, the cash value is still growing. That's that uninterrupted compounding interest. So your equity is still growing, which is the cash value going up, and you're still using the money to go make money again. So it's almost identical, just two different vehicles. The difference is the life insurance is more efficient than a HELOC. The other thing, you probably don't know that this is even possible, as most of the audience doesn't know. But because I'm older, I'm going to be 48, I can't believe it, in July. But I've seen some things. So during the Great Recession, and actually even before that, I had a home equity line of credit when I was building up rentals. I started building a rental portfolio during, the Great Recession. So after that, I started buying apartment buildings. I had home equity lines of credit. And I remember in 2014, the bank froze my lines of credit. So literally, imagine you're midstream on a couple of flips, you're using the equity in your house, and just out of nowhere, the bank freezes your line of credit. A lot of people don't realize this is possible, but this actually happens. If there's a recession, if there's a pullback in the equity of houses, and like if your house is all of a sudden depreciating, the bank can freeze your line of credit. They can reduce your line of credit. You are not in control.
That's a nightmare.
The nightmare, but it actually happened to me. And I had 36 rentals that I bought. Just imagine this. Great Recession was the best time ever to buy real estate. Pennies on the dollar in comparison to today. So I had all these properties, 36 of them that I bought from 2009 to 2014. And in 14, when the bank froze my line of credit, I was highly leveraged in the middle of a bunch of renovations on those rentals. I didn't have the money to continue. So I had to start selling the assets at the worst possible time. Yeah, that happens. But it can never happen to a specially designed whole life. Just saying.
Wow.
Can't happen.
I'm sold now. Honestly, it took me years to get around, but it makes sense from all angles. Sounds sometimes too good to be true. And then when you are dealing with someone who's trying to sell you this, and they're a salesperson, they're talking very fast, they're really trying to get your buy-in. We're in a day and age where scams are at the top. It's just crazy. My grandparents get hit up all the time by scammers. How do I trust that what you're telling me is real and legitimate? And it's a lack of a visual. I need a visual. I need to see, let me give you my numbers, my goal, what I'm trying to reach, and play with those numbers and let me see how what you're proposing to me would work.
And that's a problem in our industry. A lot of people over-explain it, or they go too deep into the product and they don't explain the process. And I think the only thing we've done really good is we just show, here's the problem. You want to get all the money back for every car you buy, drive, and own, or you don't want, to give interest up to a bank, or maybe you don't want to have credit card debt. Take problem and solve the problem. I mean, that's what you do as an attorney. You solve problems every single day, which is why attorneys make the money they do. This is no different. We just solve problems, real world problems for everyday people. And the bigger the problem, the more money we make, because the bigger the problem, the more money we save our clients. Just problem solving.
Yeah.
Another thing too that I think is unique in my space is, when we're talking to financial advisors, which I was one for 16 years, an advisor or somebody that, a client would use, they're always going to sit there and say, well, why would you put money into this specially designed whole life when you could make more money in the stock market? Why would you put money in this specially designed whole life when you can make more money in real estate, right? They're saying this or that. But the whole concept is this and that. You're just changing where your money goes first. It's going into an account that pays guaranteed interest and dividends. You're then using that money to buy stocks, using that money to buy real estate, using that money to pay for your car. And then, so it's not this or that, it's this and that. You make money here and in stocks, here and in real estate, here and in buying them.
Wow, it's a multifaceted approach.
It's just instead of comparing one versus the other, it's this one and that one. So you're making money twice instead of once.
Makes sense.
Simple, right?
Yeah. Now that you've explained it like this, very simple.
Yeah, well, I don't know why people don't understand that. They try to overcomplicate it, which sounds like that's what happened.
Yeah.
As we get to the end of this, what is the best advice you could give to anyone watching this podcast in terms of what you've done?
Great question. So I would say if you've thought about real estate, if you want to get into real estate, if you're ready to pull the trigger, I would say proof of concept has been the most valuable thing that I've encountered. And what I mean by proof of concept is, let's say you want to flip houses. Get your first flip. Even if you're not going to make a ton of money, maybe you'll walk away with $5,000 or $10,000. Get your first flip, because once you do it and you're at the end of that road, at the end of that process, you prove to your mind, it's a psychological shift almost. your mind realized, oh my God, I can do it. They have this saying where like you can only see as far as your mind can see or something like that. Like it's a psychological shift. And then you just become a beast. You're a new person. You're you 2.0 once you realize that you can actually do it. So I would say proof of concept is extremely valuable. Get your first deal. Make sure you're not going to lose money, right? That you'll make some money, but you don't have to wait around until you're going to find a flip that's going to make you 30, 40K. Just get your first deal and do it.
I think that's some awesome advice. Just get in the game, get your feet wet. Love it. Aleea Stanton, where can people find you? If they want to follow your journey and kind of see what you're doing, what's the best place for people to follow that?
Instagram. So my Instagram handle is Lee, Lee, S as in Sam, Cheri, Cheri. All
right. Well, folks, we're going to put that up in the description so you can follow her journey, see what she's doing. And also make sure you post some things about the grandparents. Everybody now, after watching this, is going to be super into like what that journey is. To get them out fishing. Make sure you photo the crap out of that and put it up on Instagram. All right, folks. Well, with that being said, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Money School podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Aleea, thank you so much for your time. All right. We'll see you next time.